some reason, Batman just always stood out. It's one of the major characters of the 20th century, and so many people connect to it on such a deep level and for so many different reasons. The first conversation I had with Matt about it, I just knew there was something radically different from anything we'd seen in Batman movies before.
Now, the story in terms of what we're looking at here is very difficult to tackle, but I think I've got a pretty good idea in mind for this. So the story will take place a few months into Damian's time as Robin, but we see flashbacks to Bruce discovering the truth about Damian, him training with Ra's before he became Batman, along with his relationship during that period with Talia, which led to Damian's conception. By the end of Act 1, Talia has arrived in Gotham and tells Bruce that she wants Damian to come home now, and Bruce of course refuses, and Talia says, so be it. And Act 2 will focus on Talia's attempts to take down Bruce by sending Deathstroke after him because, well, if there's a man dressed like a bat stopping you from seeing your son, you gotta hire an assassin. Maybe. I don't know how that works. Now, eventually, Damian is actually the one to incapacitate Slade, which ends with the assassin losing his eye. Now, depending on which canon we're looking at, Slade has lost his eye in various circumstances, but in, I believe, the Son of the Batman animated film, Slade loses his eye thanks to Damian. I'm not sure how accurate that is, so don't quote me on that. Act 3 will shift focus onto Bruce and Damian versus Ra's and Talia. Our heroes will of course emerge victorious, with Damian fatally injuring the head of the League. Talia decides to allow Damian to stay with his father, but promises Bruce that one day the Great White Ra's al Ghul will return to claim his heir. Now, you may very much be able to tell from the title where we're going, but the sequel to Brave and the Bold would adapt the Death of the Family storyline from the New 52 run of Batman comics, where Joker has his face cut off in Arkham Asylum courtesy of the Dollmaker. The opening scenes would take place before Brave and the Bold and not only depict that moment happening, but also showing what happened to Joker beforehand and where exactly he was during this period. We would then cut to around the present day of the timeline. As a quick reminder, Death of the Family takes place after the events of the Flash movie, link below for that video in particular. But Joker's return sends everything into chaos, and as a side note, we would also see flashbacks to the Bat family's various encounters with the Clown, which among other things would include Jason's torture at the hands of Joker, and Barbara Gordon's spinal injury during the events of The Killing Joke. So the events of A Death in the Family, Killing Joke, a lot of the major Batman stories have actually happened in this universe already. These flashbacks are meant to not only flesh out more of this universe's history, but also make the audience absolutely hate the Joker and everything he is. The final battle would see Joker brainwash the Bat family with his toxin, but Bruce is able to incapacitate them all as he chases the Joker. The ending would see these two adversaries come to blows in this fight, where Bruce taunts Joker with the claim that he knows the identity of the Clown Prince of Crime. Joker stops Bruce from saying anything as he throws himself off the cliff, his face finally coming off as he falls. It's after this that we then head back to Gotham with Batman's third movie titled White Knight, which will combine both White Knight and the Endgame comic storylines. Following Joker's disappearance and death of the family, we see that Bruce has become more violent with criminals, but then Joker, now known once more as Jack Napier, returns having quote-unquote fixed his mental stability, and it eventually comes down to Batman fighting Joker in the catacombs underneath Arkham Asylum. Joker taunts Batman with the idea of killing him, but Bruce realises that this has been a sick game to the Joker and refuses to kill him, vowing never to break his code. The caves collapse in as Joker is killed for good, and Bruce decides to focus on funding the Justice League as a distraction, and leaves Gotham in the capable hands of the Bat family. But with Bruce devoting his time to expanding the League, what does this mean for the Bat family? Well, I'm glad you asked, because that is what the HBO Max series Gotham Knights will focus on. With Batman otherwise occupied with the JLA, he leaves Gotham in the care of Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Damian Wayne and Barbara Gordon, with Tim Drake currently elsewhere leading the Teen Titans. With Batman's absence, a lot of the rogues come out to play, including Harley Quinn, Two-Face and Penguin as well. This series would also see Ra's al Ghul return after his death in Brave and the Bold, because Lazarus Pit, as he seeks revenge against Bruce and the Bat family. While the Batcave is vacated, Ra's sends Malcolm Merlyn to hack into the Batcomputer, where he discovers that Bruce has contingency plans for every current member of the Justice League, and so he sends these to Ra's, who begins his ultimate plan for revenge. Moving back to new heroes, we then head to the Teen Titans with their own HBO Max series, which will show what Tim Drake was up to during the events of Gotham Knights, as he and the Titans deal with the demon Trigon. Now, Trigon, being a demon from hell, is a very formidable opponent for the Titans, which is why they call upon John Constantine to assist them in taking down the demon, given that he has a lot of experience with the occult. And that brings us to Gotham with the second season of Gotham Knights. Now, as a quick refresher for those who are just tuning into this series, in the second Justice League movie, Tower of Babel, we saw Batman quit the team after his contingency plans fell into the arms of the bad guys, and as a result he has returned to Gotham to solely put his focus on the city. But this turns out to be his undoing, as upon his return to the Batcave one night, Bruce is attacked by Deathstroke, and the two engage in a brutal fight which ends with both of them dying as the Batcave is destroyed, and in the aftermath Bruce's identity as Batman is publicly revealed to the world. This leaves the Bat family in shock as they now come to terms with a Gotham that doesn't have a Batman to protect it. With Tim still occupied leading the Titans, this leaves Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl and Red Hood to solve the mystery of Batman's death, which then leads them to the Court of Owls. Now, the court were responsible for sending Deathstroke after Batman and knew this would be the final fight for the both of them. Now, the series initially starts out as a detective story as the Bat family attempt to figure out how Bruce was killed and why Deathstroke would go after him like this. With the Batcave and Wayne Manor destroyed, the now dubbed quote-unquote Gotham Knights take up refuge in the Belfry, an off-the-books hidden base that Bruce kept for emergencies only. The Knights, including Alfred, who was out of the manor at the time, take up refuge here and in the penultimate episode would discover the true conspiracy surrounding Bruce's death. At the end, the main leaders of the court are murdered by Jason, and the Knights agree to put aside their own differences and defend Gotham in Bruce's honour, with none of them taking on the Batman mantle, just agreeing to act as equal heroes protecting the city. And Alfred also finally decides to retire, and he leaves Gotham to return to England.